Pay attention to these two men in this surveillance footage. The man with the gun is Michael Dennison, a 39-year-old construction supervisor who found out that the man on the right, named Christopher Reeves, has been sleeping with his wife for the past 6 months. But little did Christopher know, the words he was about to say would trigger Michael so hard it would cost him his life. At 2:37 p.m. on August 12, 2022, a frantic call cut through the Greenfield Police Department's afternoon quiet. A neighbor from Oak Estates, his voice trembling, reported 3 gunshots and a man down in a driveway, covered in blood. The witness described seeing the shooter flee in a red pickup truck. Police cruisers raced to Oakwood Lane, lights flashing and sirens wailing. Officers arrived, expecting to launch a manhunt across the upscale neighborhood. However, what they discovered at the end of the manicured driveway was a crime scene so deliberate that it suggested something far more disturbing than a moment of pure rage. Christopher Reeves was, to anyone who knew him, the picture of success. At 32, he had climbed rapidly through the competitive real estate market of Greenfield, Ohio. As a top agent at Prestige Real Estate, his commission checks regularly exceeded $15,000 per month, with an annual income topping $180,000. His business card featured his confident smile beside the slogan, "Making Dreams Reality," and his sales record backed up the promise. Colleagues described him as naturally persuasive, with an uncanny ability to read people's desires. Chris knew what clients wanted before they did, his office manager would later tell police. He could make anyone feel like they were the only person in the room. This talent extended beyond professional relationships, making him a popular figure in Greenfield's social circles. His downtown condo, purchased for $425,000 just 18 months earlier, showcased his success with floor-to-ceiling windows, custom Italian furniture, and a rooftop terrace where he hosted frequent gatherings. The luxury car in his driveway, the same one he would collapse beside on that August afternoon, had been a reward to himself after closing a record $4.2 million commercial property deal. Recently divorced, Christopher maintained an active dating life that he documented carefully on social media. His Instagram account, followed by over 4,000 people, displayed a carefully crafted image of success. Tropical vacations, exclusive restaurants, and networking events with Greenfield's elite. What those curated images didn't show was a troubling pattern in his personal relationships. His ex-wife, Jessica, had cited this behavior in their divorce papers filed just 5 months before his death. "He deliberately pursues women in committed relationships," she stated in her filing. He once bragged that married women gave him a thrill because they were forbidden fruit. The court sealed these records at Christopher's request, but they would later become crucial evidence in understanding the events leading to August 12th. Michael Dennison, however, lived in a different world entirely. At 39, he had worked his way up from construction laborer to site supervisor at Westbrook Construction over 15 dedicated years. His modest 3-bedroom home in Greenfield's Maple Heights neighborhood sat on a quarter-acre lot where he had built a treehouse for his children with his own hands. The mortgage payment consumed nearly a third of his annual salary, but providing this stability for his family was his proudest achievement. For 8 years, Michael had been married to Amanda, a 3rd-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary. They had met at a mutual friend's barbecue in 2014, married 6 months later, and welcomed their daughter Emma in 2016 and son Tyler in 2018. The family photos displayed throughout their home showed camping trips, birthday celebrations, and ordinary moments of domestic happiness. But behind these images of family contentment, the marriage had been struggling. Michael's 60-hour work weeks, including regular weekend overtime, provided financial security but left little time for connection. According to Michael's brother, who gave a statement after the shooting, the couple had been sleeping in separate bedrooms since July 2021, more than a year before the confrontation. They barely spoke anymore, his brother told detectives. Michael would come home exhausted, eat dinner with the kids, and fall asleep in the recliner. Amanda stopped waiting up for him months ago. Their conversations had dwindled to logistics about children's schedules and household needs, creating an emotional void that would soon be filled by someone else. But then, the real chaos started. The path that would bring these two men to that fatal confrontation in the driveway began in February 2022, when Amanda attended an open house in her neighborhood. She had been grocery shopping when she noticed the "For Sale" sign with balloons tied to it just 2 streets over from her own home. On impulse, curious about home values in their neighborhood and seeking a brief escape from her weekend routine, she pulled into the driveway of the elegant 2-story colonial. The house was well beyond what the Dennisons could afford. Listed at $575,000 with a gourmet kitchen and backyard pool. Amanda knew buying it was impossible, but for a moment she could pretend. Imagining a life where Michael wasn't always exhausted, where they had time for each other again, where they entertained friends around that gleaming marble island, instead of eating quick dinners before falling into separate beds. Christopher Reeves spotted her the moment she walked through the door. Later, he would tell a colleague he noticed her wedding ring first, a small gold band that hadn't been upgraded despite Michael's promotions over the years. Christopher had developed what his coworkers called a radar for unhappy wives. He could spot the subtle signs, how they wandered through open houses, alone on weekends, how they lingered a bit too long, imagining a different life, how they seemed surprised when someone actually paid attention to them. "Welcome," Christopher said, approaching Amanda with the perfect professional smile. "First time in this neighborhood?" "Oh no," Amanda replied, suddenly self-conscious in her Saturday jeans and unstyled hair beside Christopher's tailored navy suit. "We actually live a few streets over on Maple. I'm just looking." Instead of moving on to more serious buyers, Christopher stayed beside her. "Just looking is perfect," he said. "That's how you discover what you really want." Something in how he said it made Amanda blush slightly. It had been years since anyone had made her feel interesting enough to focus on. For the next 45 minutes, Christopher guided Amanda through the house, asking questions no one had asked her in years. What did she think about the kitchen layout? Which bedroom would make the perfect home office? Did she prefer modern or traditional design? With each question, Amanda found herself opening up more. About her teaching career, about her children's activities, about her own forgotten dreams of going back to school someday. "You know," Christopher said as they stood on the back deck overlooking the pool, "most people rush through these showings talking about square footage and closet space. It's refreshing to meet someone who sees a house as a home, as a place where life happens." Amanda couldn't remember the last time Michael had really seen her, really listened. Home conversations with her husband revolved around bills, repairs needed, and scheduling conflicts. Christopher made her feel visible again, as if her opinions mattered, as if she mattered. As the open house was ending, Christopher walked her to her car. Nothing had happened, not yet, but a certain tension revealed there was more to come. "I've enjoyed talking with you, Amanda," Christopher said, producing his business card from his wallet. Instead of simply handing it to her, he took a pen and wrote his personal cell number on the back. Their fingers brushed as he passed it to her. "If you have any questions about the market or anything else, please call me directly, anytime." Amanda sat in her car for several minutes after he walked away, staring at the card with his personal number. She knew exactly what was happening. She knew she should throw the card away. Instead, she carefully placed it in her wallet, behind her driver's license where it wouldn't be seen. In the following days, she couldn't stop thinking about that open house. And 3 days after receiving Christopher's business card, Amanda sent her first text. "Hi, this is Amanda from the open house. Just wondering about home values in our area." Christopher replied within minutes, even though it was almost 10 p.m. That quick response was the first hint of his true interest. And over the next 2 weeks, their messages shifted from property questions to personal conversations. Amanda found herself checking her phone constantly, feeling a flutter of excitement whenever his name appeared on her screen. But little did they know, these innocent messages were the first steps toward tragedy. On a rainy Tuesday in early March, Amanda told Michael she had a teacher meeting after school. Instead, she met Christopher at the Corner Cafe, a small coffee shop downtown where no one would recognize them. She had chosen a table in the back, nervously watching the door. Christopher arrived in a perfectly fitted suit, his confident smile making her feel both guilty and thrilled. The meeting that was supposed to last 30 minutes stretched to 2 hours of easy conversation. "You seem like someone who isn't heard very often," Christopher said, his eyes never leaving hers. As they stood to leave, he lightly touched her arm. I'd like to see you again, somewhere more private." Amanda knew she should say no, but the attention was intoxicating after years of feeling invisible in her own home. Their first hotel meeting happened in April at the Marriott Courtyard on the edge of town. Christopher always paid cash for room 718 on the top floor, away from the elevators. Amanda would arrive first, heart pounding as she rode the elevator, wondering if anyone would recognize her. He would arrive 20 minutes later, bringing wine or small gifts. The hotel meeting soon became a weekly ritual. Every Wednesday when Amanda claimed to have teacher planning sessions, and sometimes Mondays when Michael worked late. By June, they grew reckless. Their text messages became more frequent and explicit. In just 6 months, they exchanged 4,217 messages, a digital trail that would later become evidence. Amanda saved hotel receipts in her email and kept photos of them together in a folder labeled Curriculum Ideas. Christopher began taking greater risks too, once calling Amanda from a work dinner where Michael might have known people. Christopher even bragged about the affair to a co-worker during a company happy hour. After 3 drinks, he showed a picture of Amanda on his phone. "See her? She's married to some construction worker. She says he hasn't touched her in months." His co-worker, uncomfortable with the boasting, would later tell police that Christopher seemed to enjoy the secret power of it all. He said married women were more fun because taking them from their husbands gave him a rush. Tuesday evening, August 10th, would change everything. Michael was driving home from a job site when his phone died. His brother had called earlier about a fishing trip, and Michael needed to confirm the details. When he walked into the kitchen at 7:12 p.m., Amanda was helping their daughter with homework. "Can I borrow your phone?" Michael asked. "Mine's dead." Amanda handed it over without thinking. As Michael took the phone, a notification appeared on the screen. It was a message from someone named Chris that read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place as last time? Been thinking about you all day." For a moment, Michael couldn't move. The words seemed to float before his eyes as a cold sensation spread through his chest. With trembling hands, he made his call to his brother, somehow managing to sound normal. Through dinner and bedtime routines with the children, Michael said nothing about what he had seen. Amanda, unaware that her secret had been discovered, went to bed early to prepare for her teacher meeting the next day. After she fell asleep, Michael took her phone to the basement. She didn't use a password, another sign of her growing carelessness. For hours, he scrolled through hundreds of messages between his wife and Christopher Reeves. He found hotel receipts dating back to April. He discovered photos they had taken together, some in hotel rooms, others at restaurants in nearby towns where they thought they wouldn't be recognized. Michael didn't go to work on Wednesday or Thursday, the first sick days he had taken in 3 years. While Amanda was at school, he checked her laptop, which remained logged into her social media and email accounts. Through the location data attached to her messages, he found Christopher's home address, 1842 Oakwood Lane. He learned the real estate agent's daily schedule, noting that Christopher typically arrived home between 2 and 2:30 p.m. after showing properties. By Thursday morning, Michael had made his decision. He would not confront Amanda yet. First, he needed to face the man who had destroyed his family. After Amanda left for school and the children for their summer day camp, Michael went to the bedroom closet. From a metal lockbox hidden behind winter blankets on the top shelf, he removed his 9mm Glock handgun. He had purchased it legally 2 years earlier for home protection and had taken it to the shooting range only twice. With steady hands, Michael loaded the gun, placed it in his waistband, and drove the 20 minutes to Christopher's neighborhood. He parked his red pickup truck down the street, choosing a spot beneath a large oak tree that offered shade from the August heat. The dashboard clock read 2:15 p.m. Now he would wait for the man whose name had appeared on his wife's phone, the man who had taken what wasn't his to take. At 2:28 p.m., a black luxury car turned onto Oakwood Lane. Michael sat up straight in his truck, heart pounding, as he watched Christopher Reeves pull into the driveway of 1842. The real estate agent stepped out of his car, looking polished and confident, smoothing his shirt and checking his phone, likely texting another client, or perhaps even Amanda. Michael waited until Christopher had opened his car door to retrieve his briefcase. This was the moment. Michael stepped out of his truck with the gun already in his hand. The weight of the gun felt strange, yet somehow right as he walked across the street. The afternoon sun beat down on his back as he approached the driveway where Christopher stood, still unaware. The front door camera on Christopher's house silently recorded what happened next. "Christopher Reeves?" Michael called out, his voice steadier than he expected. The real estate agent turned, surprise flashing across his face as he registered both the stranger and the gun pointed at his chest. He raised his hands immediately, his briefcase dropping to the ground. "Whoa, take it easy," Christopher said, backing up against his car. "Whatever this is about, we can talk it through." "I'm Michael Dennison," Michael said, continuing his approach until he stood just 10 feet away. Amanda's husband. Recognition dawned on Christopher's face. For a moment, fear showed in his eyes, but it quickly transformed into something else, a calculating confidence that had likely served him well in closing difficult deals. "Listen, man," Christopher said, still holding his hands up. "I don't want any trouble." "You've been sleeping with my wife for 6 months, Michael said. "I saw all the messages. I saw the pictures. I know about the hotel." The doorbell camera captured the first part of their exchange, but what happened next hasn't been given away by the police. Only Michael would ever know exactly what was said. According to Michael's later confession, Christopher's fear gave way to arrogance. Looking directly at Michael despite the gun pointed at his chest, Christopher's lips curled into a smirk. "Look, your wife was bored out of her mind," he said. "If you knew how to satisfy a woman, she wouldn't have come looking for me. I've had better, but she was eager for someone who could give her what you obviously couldn't. She was already gone long before I came along." In that moment, something inside Michael Dennison broke. The careful restraint he had maintained through 2 days of discovery, the slow burn of his anger, suddenly erupted into white-hot rage. Without conscious thought, his fingers squeezed the trigger 3 times in rapid succession. The gunshots echoed through the quiet neighborhood. All 3 bullets struck Christopher in the chest at close range. The real estate agent's expression changed from smug confidence to shock in an instant. He stumbled backward, collapsing against his car before sliding to the ground. Blood bloomed across his light blue shirt, spreading quickly as his eyes stared upward, already emptying of life. For 7 seconds, captured by a neighbor's security camera across the street, Michael stood completely still. The gun still pointed where Christopher had been standing. Then, as if waking from a trance, he lowered the weapon and turned away. He didn't run. He walked with measured steps back to his truck, climbed in, and drove away from Oakwood Lane. But Michael didn't drive home. He didn't flee town or try to hide the evidence. Instead, he drove directly to the Greenfield Police Department, 5 miles away. He parked his red Ford in a visitor spot near the front doors, leaving the weapon visible on the passenger seat. The dashboard clock read 2:41 p.m., just 13 minutes after Christopher had pulled into his driveway. Michael walked through the glass doors of the station with his hands visible at his sides. The front desk sergeant, James Wilson, had been with the department for 20 years. He would later say he knew immediately something was wrong by the empty look in Michael's eyes. "I need to report a shooting," Michael said, his voice flat and emotionless. "I just shot the man who's been sleeping with my wife. His name is Christopher Reeves. He lives at 1842 Oakwood Lane." Sergeant Wilson signaled to 2 nearby officers who quickly approached, gently taking Michael by the arms. They didn't handcuff him immediately. His calm demeanor suggested no threat, but they escorted him to interview room 3, a small space with gray walls and a metal table bolted to the floor. Detective Sarah Miller arrived minutes later. She set up the recording equipment, the red light indicating they were now creating an official record. She read Michael his Miranda rights, but he waived his right to an attorney. "I want to tell you exactly what happened," he said, his voice still unnervingly steady. "I need you to understand why I did it." For the next 3 hours, Michael detailed everything, discovering the text messages, his 2-day investigation, the confrontation in the driveway, and the cruel words Christopher had spoken in his final moments. Only when describing those taunting words did Michael's composure finally crack. his hands began to shake, and tears filled his eyes. "Those words," he whispered. "The way he said my wife was already gone. Like she was just another trophy he'd taken. Something in me just broke." While Michael confessed at the police station, forensic teams worked the scene at Oakwood Lane. They recovered all 3 bullet casings and mapped the trajectory of each shot. The evidence showed Christopher had been backing away when he was shot. The medical examiner would later determine that any one of the 3 bullets would have been fatal. All had struck vital organs. At Lincoln Elementary School, Amanda Dennison was helping her 3rd grade students with an art project when there was a knock at her classroom door. The school principal stood there with 2 police officers. Their serious expressions told her something was terribly wrong before they even spoke. "Mrs. Dennison," one officer said gently, "we need to speak with you in private." As Amanda followed them to the principal's office, her mind raced through possibilities. A car accident involving Michael or one of the children, perhaps. Nothing could have prepared her for what they actually told her. Her husband had shot her lover, and both men's lives were now destroyed because of choices she had made. Back at the police station, Detective Miller showed Michael the doorbell camera footage recovered from Christopher's home. On the screen, Michael watched himself approach with the gun. It was like watching a stranger, a man he no longer recognized. "That's not me," he said quietly. "That's not who I am." But the evidence said otherwise. The gun was registered to him. His fingerprints were on the trigger. 3 spent casings matched his weapon. And Christopher Reeves lay dead because of 3 decisions. Christopher's decision to pursue a married woman, Amanda's decision to betray her husband, and Michael's final, irrevocable decision to pull the trigger. Michael Dennison's case became known as Greenfield v. Dennison, case number 22-4720. He was charged with 2nd-degree murder, which in Ohio meant he had intended to kill Christopher Reeves, but hadn't planned it days in advance. From his first day in jail, Michael accepted what he had done. He never tried to claim he was innocent. The question wasn't if he had pulled the trigger. The only question was why, and whether that reason mattered under the law. The trial began on December 5, 2022, nearly 4 months after the shooting. The Greenfield County Courthouse, an old brick building with tall white columns, was packed every day. Reporters filled the back rows, while the front seats held Christopher's parents and business partners on one side, and Michael's brother and friends on the other. Amanda sat alone in the very last row, wearing dark sunglasses even inside the courtroom. County Prosecutor Jennifer Martinez led the case against Michael. She was known for being tough but fair, with 15 years of experience putting criminals behind bars. Her opening statement to the jury was direct and powerful. Michael Dennison didn't just bring a gun to a conversation. She told the jury, her voice firm. He made a choice to end a human life. Being angry, even being betrayed, doesn't give anyone the right to become judge, jury, and executioner. Martinez showed the jury the doorbell camera footage. She presented the gun, sealed in a clear evidence bag. She called forensic experts who testified that the bullets had been fired at close range and that Christopher had been backing away when he was shot. This wasn't self-defense, she reminded the jury. This was revenge, pure and simple. Michael's defense attorney, public defender Mark Shelton, had a different story to tell. Shelton was younger than Martinez, but had built a reputation for taking difficult cases. His strategy wasn't to deny what Michael had done, but to explain why he had done it. What happened on that driveway was a tragedy, Shelton told the jury. But this isn't a case about a cold-blooded killer. This is about a decent man who, for one terrible moment, lost control after facing the ultimate betrayal. Not once, but twice. The defense brought in a psychologist who explained how extreme emotional stress can temporarily overwhelm a person's normal judgment. They presented character witnesses, co-workers, neighbors, and Michael's brother, who testified that Michael had never before shown any violent tendencies. He was the guy who would catch spiders in the house and release them outside rather than kill them, his brother told the court. He's not violent, he just broke. On the third day of the trial, Amanda Dennison took the stand. She had lost weight since August, and dark circles showed beneath her eyes, despite her makeup. As she raised her right hand to swear to tell the truth, Her wedding ring was noticeably absent. Under questioning, she confirmed the affair had lasted 6 months. She admitted to lying repeatedly to Michael about her whereabouts. When Martinez asked if she had planned to leave Michael for Christopher, Amanda's composure cracked. "I don't know what I wanted," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Christopher made me feel seen when I had been feeling invisible for so long. But part of me knew it wasn't real. He made promises, but I think I always knew they were empty." The most powerful testimony came from Michael himself. Against his attorney's advice, he insisted on addressing the jury directly. On December 15th, wearing the same gray suit he had worn every day of the trial, Michael took the stand. The courtroom fell completely silent. "I didn't go there planning to kill him," Michael began, his voice steady at first. "I wanted answers. I needed to understand how my marriage, my family, everything I had worked for could fall apart so quickly." As he described the moment Christopher had taunted him about Amanda, Michael's voice began to break. When he said those things, with that smirk on his face, that my wife was already gone before he ever came along, something just snapped inside my head. It was like watching someone else pull the trigger. I know that sounds like an excuse, but it's the truth. He looked directly at the jury, his eyes red-rimmed but dry. "I know what I did was wrong. I know I have to pay for it. I've accepted that, but I want you to understand." In that moment, I wasn't thinking at all. After 8 days of testimony, the case went to the jury on December 16th. For 3 days, 12 citizens of Greenfield discussed, debated, and sometimes argued about Michael's fate. They sent several questions to the judge, asking for clarifications about the difference between second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter. On December 18th, just a week before Christmas, the jury returned with their verdict. The foreman, a middle-aged math teacher, stood to read the decision: guilty of voluntary manslaughter, not second-degree murder. The jury had accepted that Michael had acted in the heat of passion rather than with calculated intent. Judge Robert Harlow, known for his tough sentences, addressed Michael directly before announcing his decision. "Mr. Dennison, the law recognizes that human emotions can sometimes overwhelm reason. But we cannot have citizens taking the law into their own hands, no matter how wrong they feel." He sentenced Michael to 15 years in the state prison, with the possibility of parole after serving 10 years. As the bailiff led Michael away, he turned to look at Amanda one final time. She was crying silently, alone on the hard wooden bench. Neither spoke a word. Today, Michael Dennison remains at Greenfield State Correctional Facility as inmate #7820 known. His daily routine is carefully regulated. Breakfast at 6 a.m., work assignment in the prison library from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., dinner at 5 p.m., and lights out at 10 p.m. His brother visits once a month, bringing updates about Michael's children, who are now living far from Greenfield. Amanda filed for divorce in January 2023, just weeks after the sentencing. She moved with Emma and Tyler to Cincinnati, where she found a teaching job at a new school. She changed their last name from Dennison back to her maiden name, hoping to escape the whispers and stares that followed her in Greenfield. Christopher's parents, who sat quietly through every day of the trial, established a scholarship in their son's name at Greenfield High School. The scholarship helps students interested in business and real estate. They have never spoken publicly about their son's death or the circumstances surrounding it. The case changed the community in unexpected ways. Local marriage counselors reported a 24% increase in couples seeking help in the months following the trial. Many specifically mentioned the Dennison case as their wake-up call, a stark reminder of how quickly unaddressed problems could explode. This tragedy forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about how quickly love can turn to hatred, how ordinary people can be driven to terrible violence, and how betrayal ripples outward to hurt many lives. For Michael, Christopher, and Amanda, these lessons came at the highest possible price, a price still being paid by two families torn apart by choices that can never be undone.